Hey guys, what's up, back to the video. In this video is my spoiler-free review for Decision to Leave. Going into 2022, this has been one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and Park Chan-wook did not disappoint. This movie is a masterclass in pretty much every single area. Decision to Leave follows a detective who's investigating a man's death. He develops feelings for the man's wife through the investigation, leading to some very tricky situations. At the surface, this movie definitely sounds very basic, and I won't lie, the premise is, but the way that this entire movie is executed is so unique, it's so special, and to me, it makes everything feels so worth it by the end. Again, this is a mystery thriller movie, but it's just a disguise for what this movie really is, which is a love story. I want to start off by talking about the performances by our two main leads here. They are absolutely phenomenal. I definitely think the lead deserves a Best Actor nomination, as well as the actress who deserves a Best Supporting Actress nomination. I think what makes these performances so special is that, yes, overall, they're very emotional, they're very personal, but whenever they are interacting with certain characters, there's small movements change. I definitely think the acting is one of the more consistent factors of this movie, because getting to the pacing overall, I definitely think this is a weird one when it comes to pacing. A lot of people might not like it because it starts off as very textbook. It starts off as a very textbook mystery thriller movie, but as you transform into the second act, it becomes what it truly is, in my opinion, and that is a love story. Through the second act, you find more about this affair, this love, and you really get attached to these characters, and I think you have to wait until the second act to really be invested in this relationship that this movie is handing to you. And then by the time you get to the third act, it gets very crazy. It's not crazy as in like fantastical dragons flying everywhere, but it's more crazy in terms of just the scale and size and how they inflate such a personal story into something so big and grandiose. One of the biggest things I love about this movie is the visual style, and I think that's really what transforms this movie from the first to the final act. And that's another very consistent factor of this movie, is how creative the visuals really are. The cinematography does a phenomenal job in this movie with not only just the general visuals, but the composition of every shot. There's one specific shot that I saw on Twitter after I watched the movie, and I was like, yeah, this is the one that had my jaw drop the entire time it was on screen. And that's where they're basically in a mirror shot, and your characters are in the foreground and then the mirror's in the background, but the focus is on one character in the mirror and the main focus on the main character in the front. And it is absolutely insane. I figured out how they filmed it, but they used a bunch of green screens and stuff like that. It wasn't all done in camera, which initially I was like, this has to be impossible to do in camera. And of course, later I found that out to be true, but this is just absolutely insane. Just the way that they put so much care and so much craft into these individual shots. Another movie it reminds me of from this year is The Batman. It felt like every shot in The Batman was individually handcrafted, and that's what it feels like in this movie as well. The shots themselves feel like they tell a story, and I haven't really seen that in any movie this year. I think what the shots do so specially is that they're not afraid to be wacky and creative, even though sometimes it does feel very stylized, but that doesn't make it a bad stylized. It just makes it super creative, and it makes you more invested in what's going on. Literally, the only thing in this movie that I genuinely think they could improve on is just the pacing, but even then, I think it very much works for the story because it is disguised as a love story. I think as I was watching the movie, I was a little bit confused on how like the jarring changes between Act 1 and Act 3, but then you go back and think about it, and Act 2 is this perfect transition and this perfect love story that you get that brings you from this classic, very basic first act to this third act that's a lot more sad and emotional than the first act, and it's something you wouldn't really expect. When I was thinking of my thoughts on the movie during the first act, I was like, I was not expecting the movie to go this way, and I think that's what makes this movie so unique, is that the story, though it is a mystery thriller movie, it's definitely not just super out there, it's not super blatant to you, but it's also not super ambiguous. And I think that's a lot of problems that thriller movies have these days, is they're either too on the nose or they're just way too ambiguous to the way they don't feel satisfying at all. And this movie finds that balance so perfectly. This movie finds out how to express to the audience, okay, this is happening, this is happening. These are some character motivations, but they leave a lot of character motivations super ambiguous like our general story, and that just keeps you very invested. There's some moments where I feel like the characters could just go out and do anything they wanted. It would fit in the character because of how ambiguous their buildup was, but still you know that they wouldn't do it. But there's just a little slim chance they couldn't. It leaves so much tension for this movie, and it leaves so much room for you to actually care about these characters, but still not know what they're going to do and what their next action is. I think that's what's this telling of such a perfectly crafted story. This story overall has a lot of great twists and turns. There's a lot of great ideas, but thematically at the end of the day, I think this movie sticks out because it is a love story. It talks about what will you do for love, how far will you go for love, and what really is love. Again, at the end of the day, at the very core of this movie, it's just a classic mystery thriller. But when you dive deeper into it, when you look into specific characters, that's when you can really tell this is a love story. In my opinion, Decision to Leave is filmmaking at its finest, delivering some of the best performance, visuals, and moments in film this year. Overall, I'm going to give Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave a 9.5 out of 10. But again, this is a must-watch movie of the year in my opinion. It's top 3 of 2022 for me. But that's it for this video. If you guys have seen or want to check out Decision to Leave, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. And if you're new on here and you enjoy all my TV show and movie reviews, reactions, and breakdowns, make sure to subscribe and notification on so you don't miss any type of video or go live. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.